Hi there, I'm Dan Bates. I'm the founder of ImpactPPA. I want to thank Tufi and everybody from Toda for inviting me up here to explain what we do. I'm the Toda newbie in the room. We were introduced to Tufi about 2 months ago. Just learning about this product, the protocol here. I think it's awesome because specifically where I work, we need to get to scale very quickly and we need to do so at a reduced cost. I developed a product that really solved a problem. So a little bit of history on myself is I've been doing renewable energy in the developing markets of the world for about 10 years. I've deployed microgrids in over 35 countries. The big disconnect that I discovered throughout this work was that there's plenty of capital out there to install a microgrid or a utility scale grid. But the problem is you end up with people like the World Bank, USAID, Power Africa, things like that, that need to go and get sovereign guarantees, they need to get letters of credit, they need to secure those financings that are going to install the projects. And that's because they don't have a clear path to payment. You can put up 10 megawatts in Sudan, like we're doing right now, but unless you can show how those people in Sudan are going to pay for their energy, you have a big disconnect from the finance world. So we came up with a blockchain-based method of providing a prepayment rail to consumers of energy. A little bit of fact, in the developing world, 98% of the folks out there have cell phones. About 30% of those cell phones are smartphones now. And I was talking to Dan earlier about this, about how we are going to get to penetration using Toda on some of these legacy devices. It's really important, right? They may have a cell phone, but if it can't run the app, they can't get the electricity. So we're solving those problems. I think that, the conversation that I had with Dan earlier today was pretty amazing. I'll have to get my engineers talking to him because he's way over my head. All right, so this is who we are as a company. We've been around about 1.5 years. Proud to say we won the North American Bitcoin Conference as Best ICO last year, and we are going to defend our title again. This January, like I said, we've got installed in over 35 countries. I've got a $1 billion pipeline right now of sales. In fact, I'm telling guys, no more sales, that we don't need that. We need to finish what we've started. We need to build this thing out, build the back end out, and then see it get to scale. That's going to be really important. We are a security token, the way we're doing this. We're a 2-token model. So 1 token, and I'll get into the detail of that, the MPQ, which is our finance token. That's how we're raising money. It's a security, it's a Reg D offering. I'm happy to say that we just got approved by Open Finance, which is going to be the first SEC compliant approved security exchange in the US. They're going live this month. I assume first quarter of the year, next year, we'll be up and running. I know time is short, so I'm going to blast through these. 1.2 billion people in the world don't have access to any electricity. Another billion or so have sporadic electricity, right? It's not reliable. Most of those people don't have credit. When you deal in the developing world, you're dealing with people who have phones, yes. They don't get a phone bill like you guys get. They top them off, it's called. It's all prepay. So now we can access those folks in a prepay model on their phone and give them access now to clean energy. How do we do it? So we start with a energy generation system, can be anything. In this case, we're using wind and solar in a hybrid model that connects to a smart meter that we have modified. The smart meter sits on the blockchain, and then a mobile device speaks to that specific meter, allowing them through a wallet to top off not just their phones when they go to the kiosk to buy it. Now they can top off their meters so their homes can now have power, or their businesses. In some cases, it's government entities. Why the blockchain? I get asked this question a lot from people. Obviously, we all know the trusted, immutable, and all those buzzwords around it, but what we do is a little bit different, why we're using the blockchain. When somebody's got a handset, they got a mobile device, and they are connected to a smart meter, I've got data points about that individual that other companies can't get, right? We can now help give them identity. So the unbanked population of the world that now has access to energy for the first time also can be given identity, which will lead to a whole different set of business models around that, right? Once you know who that person is and they're trusted. So our business model is pretty simple. We're a licensing company at the end of the day. We license technology. In this case, it's blockchain-based prepay. In all cases, it will be blockchain-based prepay in the various models. But in the first one, for instance, we're working with Kenya Power and Light Company, KPLC, in Nairobi. 4.5 million smart meters in their network. They're not even smart meters, prepay meters, I would call them, and it's a broken system. In fact, the government about 2 months ago kicked out all the vendors, said we have to update this. So we're going to have 4.5 million potential customers in Nairobi connected to the blockchain, working with the incumbents. This doesn't work. None of this works unless you work with the people on the ground. So we work with the utility company, we work with the telecom. In this case, it is Safaricom. And we work with M-Pesa, which is the transaction platform. So we can work with all of these people. I mean, I'm sure you guys are all aware of what's going on with Restart Puerto Rico and all the guys running down to Puerto Rico trying to do good work there. They're forgetting about the incumbents. The guys on the ground who have been there for 500 years aren't going to let you waltz in and do it, just because you're blockchain. So we work with those folks. The second line of revenue for the company is what we call EPC, engineering, procurement, and construction. In that case, we go for larger projects where the capital is already assigned. We will go in for a fee, install the systems, whether they're generation systems or just blockchain systems, and work with those folks. We've got projects in, for instance, I'll show you one here in India. They're going to bring 50 million people into the network in the next 5 years. I'll explain that project a little more. It's an EPC project. And then project finance, where we have good projects that we bring on capital partners. We set them up. We set up the generation devices and then the prepay, and we start electrifying communities all over the world. That's really the core of what we do. We're really, at our foundation, we are an impact company. As I said earlier, we are a two-token model. The MPQ is a security token. It's a Reg D offering. It's asset-backed. It pays a dividend to the investor. The other token, the one that I'm talking to the folks in Toda about, is the Gen Credit. It's a utility. That's how people transact with the system, with the platform. They end up going to a kiosk, a general store, wherever they're buying their minutes, their mobile minutes now for their phone. They can also then purchase Gen Credit. Gen Credit can be used as a currency in this case. So in markets where there is no M-Pesa, I have a smart meter at my home, you have a smart meter at your home, you have something that I desire, I can trade credit this way. And that's one of the things that we're talking to the Toda guys about. We work in the developing world. They don't want to pay gas. I got to deliver them energy as cheaply as possible. That's why we're doing this on the blockchain. That's why we're talking to the Toda guys to make sure that we can deliver something that they need. They need power, right? And how do we get it to them as inexpensively as possible? That's what we're talking about here. So the token architecture is pretty simple. What we end up with is energy stakeholders. Those would be project finance companies that may put up capital to install anywhere from a small system on up to, multi-hundreds of megawatts, and we're in those discussions. And then we have consumers. ImpactPPA sits in the middle, brokering all of these transactions through the smart meters and through the network. Revenue that's generated from the sale of Gen Credit flows back to the company, and it's dispersed back to the investors. So that this is a real-world business with a business model that makes sense for the investor in the near term. I won't get into all this stuff, financial projections. We're short on time and we all need a cocktail. These are our markets, right? It's the frontier markets. It's the emerging markets. We can work here in the United States, but everybody's got credit. They get a bill at the end of the month, right? Energy is plentiful and energy is inexpensive. When I go to the Caribbean, and I've got projects in Guyana, in Suriname, in Haiti, in Belize, they're spending more than 40 cents a kilowatt hour. You guys on average are spending 10 to 12. That's what it is in the US. I generate power at 6 cents. I sell it at 20. It's good for the consumer of the energy. It's half the price. In that layer of transaction, we bring on the telecom. In the case of the Caribbean, it will be Digicel. In the case of Africa, it will be Telesom or Safaricom. So we make those relationships happen, and then we can start deploying this at scale. A couple of projects that we've got coming up right away, first quarter of next year. One of them is for the government of Suriname, and we're going to be electrifying for 3.5 megawatts their university. All of the campus is going to be on renewable energy, good for the planet, good for us. It's great for them because they're spending 40 cents right now a kilowatt hour. We're going to deliver to them for about 17 or 18 cents. Moving on from there, we're going to Guyana, where we're going to work with Guyana Power and Light, the utility company. We'll probably bring about 50,000 people into the network first quarter of next year. So, Dan, I hope you're ready. A couple of interesting projects we've got, as I mentioned earlier, hard Kati. Hard Kati is something that we're working on with the central government of India. I like to mention this because it's a really impactful project. Hard Kati is a craft of spinning cotton into fabric. And what the government's going to do is they're going to give a loom, a small spinning loom, to a woman who's unemployed. It runs off of 80 watts, only 80 watts of power. We install microgrids. We give them a smart meter. We illuminate their home for the first time. Now they will have light, and this woman will be gainfully employed. She will make roughly $100 a month, is what they're estimating. And working with Minister Singh and Prime Minister Modi on this project, they're trying to bring 50 million women into the network in the next 5 years. So this is something that's really exciting to me. I think it's, probably the largest single blockchain project out there that I know of, right? Dan, go for it. Go for it, baby. Something that we did recently in Haiti. Haiti was wiped out by Hurricane Matthew in 2016. This is a city called Les Ewa. You can kind of see it over there. 17,000 people. We electrified a third of that city with 160 kilowatts. We're putting the smart meters in the first quarter of the year. That will probably a small installation for you, only about 5,000 people to start. By virtue of us doing this last March, the government of Haiti has given us 42 more cities on the Tiburon Peninsula that we will be electrifying. So that's a big project, very excited about it. Some of our partners here I think are pretty formidable. As I mentioned, Open Finance. We'll be up on an exchange first quarter of next year. OPIC, Overseas Private Investment Corporation, World Bank, United Nations, Toda. It's a great project. I'm really passionate about this thing. It's really fun to do it. It's great to go out and, be in rural India, be in rural Africa, setting this stuff up. I think it's really important that we now bring the blockchain to it so that people have the ability to go beyond just buying electricity. We give them identity, right? We give them clean water. That could be the next outgrowth of this. It's a meter, right? In this case, it's just a way to access something that they need. Healthcare is next. We've built a blockchain-based payment rail that can be used for any goods or services, is really what we've done. And in the process, we're bringing people up into this new world. I won't try and run the demo, Sasha. I know that it will take some time. If you guys want to see it running, I'm happy to show it to you during cocktails. It's running live on the Ethereum testnet right now. What I'll show you is from here in Palo Alto, I can buy energy off of a microgrid set up in Hyderabad, India. That's what we do. You can reach me at Dan at ImpactPPA. Thank you very much.